that 70s Heron pressed on. Teflon.
Welcome into the Nickel City Crew. I am your host, Rob Crippen. Please like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Nickel City Crew. You can also find our show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and YouTube. I'm thankful you're choosing us for some of your Buffalo Bills and NFL content again today. This episode is presented by Crippen Legacy Entertainment here on Spreaker. And as always, these are my Bills thoughts said out loud. Let's get straight to it. NFL Divisional Round weekend. We had some great games last night. 2 games, 2 number 1 seeds go down. We'll touch on that in a little bit. And then we've got today's the big matchup. Obviously, everybody's waiting for it. Everybody's on pins and needles. I want to hear from Buffalo Bills fans today how you guys are feeling about today's game. What's your confidence level? How are you getting ready to consume this thing? Joining us on the hotline, a good friend of mine. We go way back. All the way back to 2004. This has been a real good buddy of mine since 2004. Jermaine James, the pride of Sweet Home High School, the Panthers, basketball, football star. How you doing, Jermaine? Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us today, Pip.
I'm doing just fine. Thanks for having me here. Brief synopsis of myself. I was born here in Buffalo back in 1981. As a young man, about 4 years, as a young boy, about 4 years old, I moved to Chicago. Grew up a Chicago fan. Moved back to Buffalo when I was about 14 years old. Grew up watching Buffalo suffer for years. Became a big Buffalo fan, and now we're here. Hopefully, with a potential possible chance of making it to the Super Bowl. But thank you for having me.
We really do have that opportunity. Everything's kind of sitting in front of the Bills right now. I know last night everybody was watching the games and seeing what was going on, and Tennessee kind of laid an egg, to be honest. If you ask me, in my opinion, they kind of laid an egg. They had an opportunity to host the AFC Championship game next week, and they came up short. Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals will be traveling either to Kansas City or hopefully for all Bills fans, the Bills Mafia will be traveling to Buffalo next week. So we'll get into that a little bit later, but I wanted to gauge your confidence level. I know that this game is a little bit different than last year's AFC Championship game. We've got it around early this year. How's your confidence level, Jermaine, on today's game? Do you have bravado? Do you have a lot of swag? Are you nervous? Bring me into your mind. Tell me where you're at.
To be honest, leading up this entire week, I felt really good. Actually, I felt like the Bills were more or less the favorite in this game to me, as being a Bills fan. But to be honest with you, waking up today, I have a lot of nerves. To be honest, but I do feel like we are in a great situation. This year is a great situation for the Bills to make the Super Bowl and finally get over that hump of beating Kansas City. It goes both ways, you know. I do have my chest out, but I do have some butterflies in my stomach.
Absolutely, that makes sense. Now, Week 5, the matchup. I don't know how much Buffalo Bills fans want to take from that matchup. Both teams are vastly different than they were in that Week 5 matchup in Kansas City, but Buffalo dominated that football game. They really did. I spoke about it in the first podcast. Buffalo was the better team that day. It was really on display. I know they had that crazy storm with the lightning that kind of had us on an extended halftime and kind of left things up in the air for a little bit. But the Bills came right out of that extended break and really didn't break their stride. They got right back on it and really finished out the game strong. This is a different Kansas City team. I would challenge people, Jermaine, that this is also a very different Buffalo Bills team. We obviously know that we're going to be missing Trey White today. We hope that he has a speedy recovery, but this might be the first game since the Tampa Bay game that you're really going to miss Trey White. Speak to me about some of the things that you're thinking about with the threats that Kansas City poses. Obviously, they've got the cheetah, Tyreek Hill. They've got Travis Kelce, one of the best tight ends still in the league. He had a down year a little bit this year with stats-wise, but he really is a threat. They're coming on, the Chiefs are, at the right time. They're playing some of their best football. I think they're 10-1 their last 11 games. Speak to me about some of the threats that they pose, because obviously they've got plenty of weapons as well.
The obvious threat that they pose is the big playability, which with the offensively. On the defensive end, it's not much threat. They haven't played a lot better as of recently. And I mean, it's an up in the air situation. But to be honest with you, I'm looking at it as a Bills fan in analyzing this game. So it's hard for me to break down Kansas City, to be honest with you.
Well, I understand that sentiment for sure. Kansas City is a tough opponent. They've played us hard. They've beat us in some games recently. Last year, obviously, the AFC Championship game. They also beat us in the regular season in Buffalo, and that was a tough game as well. They ran it down our throats, really, that game. The Bills were kind of inviting the Chiefs to run that night, and they did to the tune of over 200 yards rushing. So this is an interesting game. It's definitely different than the first two games for sure last season, and it's also going to differ from Week 5, I think. I'm looking at this game as a possible barn burner. I'm not exactly sure the over-under on today's game, but I think that this has a potential to be a back-and-forth affair where Mahomes, Allen going at it and attacking those defenses, and there's a chance that there could be a lot of points put up today.
I agree 100%. At the same time, I think the team that's going to win is going to come down to who can stop who. And obviously, as far as the Bills, we have a better defense, so I think we have the ability to possibly stop them. Maybe a little bit. I mean, a drive or two more than they can stop us. As far as to me, this game comes down to the turnover battle. Whoever can control the ball, not give up the ball, will be in the best situation to win it. That's just in my personal opinion.
The Bills, when you speak of ball control, that's funny that you kind of go there. It's a good segue. The Bills, one of the major differences from Week 5 is that they found themselves a run game, Jermaine. Devin Singletary, Motor, playing the best football of his career for sure this season. I've never seen him look better. The offensive line is starting to gel a little bit as well this time. Deion Dawkins is kind of returning to form. I know he had a bout with COVID twice this season, and that kind of led to some of his bad play, I think it's safe to say, earlier in the year when he was struggling. He's back feeling himself. We've got Rick or Ryan Bates. I guess he likes to go by Rick Bates. He's kind of been a resurgence in this offensive line as well, helping them out and getting some push up front. The Bills are a little bit nastier than they were earlier in the year, Jermaine, and I don't know if that means that they're going to run more. I know that we all don't want to see them run more per se, but we would definitely welcome the fact that the run game is able to supplement Josh so he doesn't have to do it all himself.
Well, I definitely agree, but we haven't. Our running game has definitely peaked out, and I think as far as the running back play has been, it definitely improved since earlier in the season. As far as the Bills, obviously we want to air it out. Obviously we want the ball to be in Josh's hands as much as possible. That's going to give us our best way of winning, but by controlling the ball, having some type of running game is going to give us the ability to do that. So I do agree with what you said. We do want to see the ball in the air, but we do want to keep the ball with the Buffalo Bills versus getting the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hands, because that's not a situation we want to be in either, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, Patrick Mahomes is a quarterback that can make lightning strike quickly, and he's shown that over the years of his career. It's definitely going to be something to monitor today. I don't know if this is a game that you want to necessarily have to limit possessions. I do like the Bills' offense, so I'm not necessarily scared of putting Mahomes on the field because I do have a lot of confidence in the Bills' offense, especially after the wild card game last week. But to keep it real, and to be honest, Bills fans, please don't come in today's game thinking that we're going to go 7 for 7. And I wanted to put out that little PSA, that little public service announcement. Don't think that last week is the norm. This is going to be a tough game. It's going to be a battle. 7 for 7 has never happened before in the history of the league in that respect. The way that the Bills were so efficient on offense was truly historical last week. So I don't want Bills fans to get spoiled and to think that that is the norm. This is going to be a much tougher contest than the Patriots, correct, Jermaine?
Oh, definitely, for sure. I mean, this is where it's at. This game right here is the game of games to me. As far as the Bills, if we get over this hump, I feel like we should be favored to win Super Bowl, in my personal opinion. So,
Not only Cincinnati, we should be favored to win the whole thing, huh?
Yeah, that's just my personal opinion. Yes, sir. Like, I've been saying, I've been noticing, as far as like the bravado, like you sense that as far as throughout the fans in Buffalo.
Let me play the devil's advocate for you, if you don't mind, Jermaine. What I heard something this morning, and it was a little bit interesting. It was on one of the WGR. Was on a gambling show, I think it was this morning before their pregame show started, and there was a gambling show talking about kind of poking holes at the Bills. And what they were talking about was the fact that this Bills defense, we haven't seen them go up against elite quarterbacks. Now, your schedule is your schedule. We're not going to apologize for the 11 wins that we got. We earned them. It doesn't matter who the quarterback was. You play who you play. But there is a underlining point in there that the Bills haven't really played elite quarterbacks. When the last time that they have, they got beat. Tom Brady was the last quarterback that they played that had, a little bit of level competence. We've got Mac Jones and the anemic passing offense of the New England Patriots. We had Matt Ryan. We had Cam Newton, who's a former shell of himself at this point in time. Are you nervous about the matchup defensively? This is the number one defense in the league, and I do believe that they have been disrespected. I spoke about it on the last episode. I think that they do deserve a lot of credit, but this defense is up against a real task today with Patrick Mahomes. They haven't really been tested, and the last time we saw them tested, quite frankly, they weren't up for it. How do you feel about that? Because that Tampa Bay first half was really bad. They were all over us, and some people might say that Tampa Bay took their foot off the gas, and that's why Buffalo was able to come back in that game. Talk to me about the matchup today with Patrick Mahomes. I know you said try to maybe keep him off the field. Is that your strategy? What's the way to defend this guy? Because we, quite frankly, haven't seen the Bills go up against a caliber quarterback like this.
Well, as I said before, trying to keep him off the field obviously is a great way. Trying to limit the big plays, but there's no stopping him. As far as your point, I do understand your point as far as us not playing elite quarterbacks as of lately, but we did play him earlier this season. People, that's not, acknowledged in this argument for some reason or their argument. But as far as it is what it is. We also got a guy that is very hard to stop as well. It's going to be, I feel like it's going to be a shootout. It's probably, I agree that it's going to be some fireworks in this game. Don't get me wrong. So it's not a matter of us stopping them, but I do believe that it's going to be a big play here or there on defense. It's going to be the plays, those big plays that win the game. That's my.
All right. I'm with you on that, Pimp. I'm with you. What we'll do now, we're going to touch base on yesterday's games before looking forward to the first matchup of today's divisional round. We've got the Rams at Tampa Bay going up against Tom Brady, and then obviously the Bills game at 6:30 tonight to cap it off. Yesterday's games, it was really interesting, the divisional round games yesterday, Pimp. I was very, very disappointed in Tennessee. The reason I say that is I was not too scared of going to Tennessee again to try to avenge that loss from earlier in the year on Monday Night Football when Josh slipped. We were joking around earlier that had Josh Allen not slipped on that play, the Bills are the number one seed, and we weren't even playing last week against New England. But it is what it is. The seedings came out the way that they did, and Cincinnati came in. It was a low-scoring game. I thought that it was going to be low-scoring, but really, Tennessee had it kind of all in front of them, and what I was always worried about for them was that when Derrick Henry came back, they were going to feel the need to force the ball to him because he's their bell cow. And quiet as kept, Deontay Foreman had played well in his stead earlier this year when he was injured.